There is a man you probably know. Maybe you work with him. Maybe you live with him. Maybe, if you are being completely honest right now, you have been looking at him in the mirror. He is not lazy in the way most people think of lazy. He shows up. He has ideas. He is smart enough to see what he should be doing. But something keeps stopping him from actually doing it. Not bad luck. Not unfair circumstances. Something internal. Something he has probably never named out loud. Today we are naming it. And we are going inside the psychology of why it happens, where it comes from, and what it actually takes to move past it. This is not a lecture. This is not a list of motivational tips. It is a real look at one of the most common and least talked about psychological patterns in adult men. Stay with us until the end, because the last part is the one that actually changes something. If you are the kind of person who watches this channel because you want real answers, not easy ones, hit the like button and subscribe. And leave a comment telling us, which part of what we are about to describe do you recognize most in yourself or in someone you know? We read every response. The psychoanalyst Carl Jung gave this pattern a name. Puer aeternus, Latin for the eternal boy. In everyday language it goes by Peter Pan syndrome, or simply the man-child. But those names make it sound like a personality quirk. Something minor. Something that people grow out of when they get uncomfortable enough. The reality is more serious than that. The eternal boy is not a man who is simply immature. He is a man who has unconsciously organized his entire life around avoiding a specific kind of pain. The pain of being ordinary. The pain of trying something and discovering he is not as good as he believed himself to be. The pain of commitment, which always involves loss, because to fully choose one thing means giving up every other possibility. Jung described the signature of this pattern as what he called the provisional life. The man living a provisional life always feels that his real life has not started yet. The job he has is not his real career, just something temporary while he waits for his true path to reveal itself. The city he lives in is not where he is meant to be. The relationship he is in is close, but not quite the right one. Everything in his life is held at arm's length, kept slightly provisional, slightly uncommitted, because commitment makes things real, and real things can fail. Here is what makes this pattern invisible to the man inside it. It does not feel like avoidance. It feels like freedom. It feels like staying open. It feels like being wiser than the people around him who are grinding away at careers and mortgages and relationships that seem like traps. What he cannot see is that the freedom he is protecting is not freedom at all. It is a holding pattern, a way of keeping the dream safe by never testing it against reality. Marie-Louise von Franz, who worked alongside Jung for decades and studied this pattern extensively, identified something that surprised many people when she first described it. The men most likely to develop this psychology are not men who were neglected or told they were worthless. They are often men who were told repeatedly and genuinely believed that they were exceptional, the gifted child in class who absorbed everything quickly, the one the teachers marked out as having unusual potential, the one the family talked about with a certain kind of pride that felt different from how they talked about other children. That early experience of being seen as special creates a self-image built around potential rather than performance. And potential is fragile in a very specific way. Potential survives only as long as it is untested. The moment you fully commit to something, you find out what you are actually capable of. You discover your real level, not the imagined one. For a man whose entire sense of self-worth is built around being exceptional, that discovery is genuinely threatening. So the mind develops a defense. It is not called a defense. It is called waiting for the right moment, or working on something big that is not ready to share yet, or needing a better environment to do his best work. The defense wears many faces, but underneath all of them is the same logic. If I never fully try, I never have to find out that I am not what I believed myself to be. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this before they spend another 5 years in the same place. And stay with us, because the next part is where most videos stop, but where the real conversation has to begin. Once a man is inside this pattern, 3 psychological mechanisms tend to lock it in place. Understanding them is not about self-criticism. It is about seeing clearly what you are actually dealing with. The first trap is the use of stimulation as anesthetic. This is not about enjoying video games or watching content. It is about what happens when the anxiety of an unlived life reaches a certain threshold, and the response is not to address it but to dull it. Gaming sessions that run until 3 in the morning. Scrolling that goes on long past the point of any real interest. The consumption that continues specifically because stopping would mean sitting with a discomfort that has been waiting a long time to be felt. The stimulation does not solve anything, it delays everything. And the gap between where the man is and where he knows he should be quietly widens every time he chooses the anesthetic over the discomfort. The second trap is the fear of long-term commitment disguised as standards. The eternal boy often appears, especially in relationships, to have very high standards. He is drawn to someone. Things go well in the early stage when everything feels free and new, and then the moment the relationship requires real accountability, real future building, real shared weight, something shifts. He notices flaws he had not noticed before. He begins to feel vaguely trapped. The person who seemed right starts to feel like not quite right. What looks like high standards is usually something else. The fear that choosing one real thing means giving up the fantasy of the perfect thing. And fantasy, unlike reality, never disappoints. The third trap is a victim orientation that feels like clarity. When a man in this pattern looks at the reasons his life has not moved, he sees external causes: the economy, the system, the people who did not recognize him, the unfair competition, the circumstances that were not in his favor. Some of these things are real. The economy is genuinely difficult, the job market is genuinely harsh, but there is a difference between acknowledging real obstacles and using them as the full explanation for standing still. The moment all of the reasons are external, the man has handed the steering wheel of his life to his circumstances, and circumstances do not drive toward anything, they just drift. The path out of this pattern is not motivation. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings are unreliable. What changes? It is a specific kind of exposure, repeated over time, to the reality the man has been avoiding. The first movement is the most important and the most resisted. It is choosing one ordinary thing and doing it with complete seriousness. Not a grand project, not a bold new direction. Something small and concrete that has been avoided because it felt beneath the image. Cleaning the room properly. Paying a bill before the deadline without being reminded. Showing up on time to something unglamorous and doing it well. These acts sound trivial. They are not trivial. They are the first points of contact between the man and a reality he has been treating as temporary. Each one is a small withdrawal from the provisional life and a small deposit into an actual one. The second movement is deliberate exposure to failure in low-stakes environments. Because the core fear is the fear of discovering real limitations, the cure is to encounter those limitations in situations where the cost of failure is manageable. Apply for something and get rejected. Start learning something and be genuinely bad at it for a while. Ask for honest feedback and listen to it without defending. Each of these experiences builds what psychologists call failure tolerance. The ability to have your current level of ability revealed and not have it destroy your sense of self. A man who has been through real failure in small doses stops being terrified of it in larger ones. The third movement is finding external accountability structures because willpower alone is insufficient at first. The internal negotiator inside this man is very persuasive. He can generate convincing reasons to delay, to rest, to wait for a better moment, almost indefinitely. What overrides the internal negotiator is external pressure from people who will not accept the excuses. A mentor who asks direct questions. A community of men who are actually doing the work. An environment where the standard is real, not imagined. The support structure is not a crutch. It is a scaffold that holds the man upright while he builds the internal structure that will eventually hold him on its own. Carl Jung wrote something that stays with anyone who truly reads it. He said the greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of its parents. That is not metaphorical. When a man spends his 20s and 30s and 40s in a provisional life, he does not just lose those years. He carries the weight of them into everything that comes after. Into relationships where he cannot be fully present because he is still waiting to become who he was supposed to be. Into the way he talks to his children about ambition and discipline and what is possible, when he has never fully tested those things himself. The man-child is not a fixed identity. It is a pattern. Patterns can be interrupted, but they require something that the pattern is specifically designed to avoid. The willingness to step into something real before you are ready, without a guarantee of how it ends. That willingness is not a feeling, it is a decision. And it is available right now. Not when the conditions are better, not when the timing is right. Now. If this video held something up that you needed to see, hit the like button and subscribe to this channel. We make content about the psychology underneath behavior, the real mechanisms, not the surface versions. Leave a comment before you go. What is the one thing you have been keeping provisional that you know? If you are honest, you have been afraid to make real. Write it down, That act alone is already the beginning of something different. See you in the next one.